All right, let's talk Dallas Cowboys. Man, the Cowboys have been in the news for a lot of good reasons this offseason. Still got some good news we're trying to get before we get into training camp. But we got another report involving the Cowboys about yet another massive steal potentially emerging. Cowboys doing a great job this offseason. We'll get to that in just 1 second. But first, I am Nick. That is Andrew. And this is Saturday Morning Inspection. All right, the Dallas Cowboys have done a great job finding value and really crushing it with a lot of their selections, offseason additions, trades, and undrafted free agent additions as well. And there's yet another rookie that's emerging as a massive steal. We're talking undrafted free agent Phil Mafa. And there was a tweet, post on X, whatever the kids call it these days, that brought to light exactly why Mafa was brought to Dallas and why he'll be a big time contributor. Let's pull up this tweet here, this post, whatever you want to call it. Look, I'm going to butcher your name, man, but this was a really insightful Zara Consabedian. I think that's how you pronounce it. I'm sorry, Zara, if that's not correct. But what he posted, Phil Mafa's success in the NFL is tied to the run scheme. In Dallas, he shines as a gap runner versus a zone scheme. In 2024, Dallas ran zone at a 69% rate. Obviously, McCarthy calling the plays. Dallas's offensive coordinator, Clayton Adams, came from Arizona. They ran gap at the highest rate in football last year, 69%. So we're talking about Phil Mafa, a guy who lives in the gap scheme. That's the kind of mentality he has. That's the kind of skill set he has. We're talking big, strong, physical, powerful. That gap scheme fits that mindset. We're talking double teams, moving people off the football, getting hats on hats, and letting powerful runners push the pile, straight ahead power football. That's what Mafa excels at, and that's what Clayton Adams is bringing to the Dallas Cowboys. Very interesting. And the final point he made here is athletically, Mafa is a near one-to-one comp to James Conner. And this is where I think gets very, very interesting. So I decided to kind of test this theory and say, okay, how does Mafa compare to Arizona Cardinals running back James Conner? Let's go into some tables here. Let's throw up the first one here. Let's just look at the list here. Let's compare James Conner to Phil Mafa. We look at height, both are 6'1". We look at weight, both are basically the same weight, 1 pound differential there. Arm length, you've got James Conner's 31 and 1/4 inch. That's 31 and 2/8 inches for those of you who aren't familiar with fractions. Phil Mafa is 31 and 3/8 inches. Okay, so pretty much identical arm length, hand size, a little bit of a delta there, but only 3/8 inches difference between them. James Conner 9 and 7/8, and Phil Mafa 9.5, which is 9 and 4/8. So across the board here, we're looking at basically the same physical guy, right? Same dimensions across the element. Let's take it to another level though. Let's look at their draft reports, the draft analysis, what came out when it comes to evaluating these guys out of college. So let's go into our next table here, highlighting the two main strengths and the two main weaknesses, courtesy of NFL.com's draft reports for Conner and Mafa. So let's go by the strength for Conner. Carries momentum behind pads. Mafa's strength gathers momentum as the run proceeds. Pretty much the same. How about the top weakness? For James Conner, it was runs with stiff hips and heavy legs. For Phil Mafa, it was tight-hipped, with limited quickness. Essentially the same. All right, let's go on to strength number 2. For Conner, it was a physical battering ram style. For Mafa, they said he runs hard and keeps the carry on track. Seems pretty similar right there, same kind of guy. And finally, the second weakness for Conner was lacks quick escape athleticism. For Mafa, very, very similar, lacks initial quickness. So we're not saying here that Mafa is as good as Conner was coming out of school. I don't think that's the case. Mafa had a really good career, don't get me wrong, but Conner was an elite guy coming out of school. That's why he was selected, I believe, in the 3rd round by the Pittsburgh Steelers. But I think if you're looking at fit, if you're looking at structure, if you're looking at what Clayton Adams wants from a running back in his offense, I think you look at a guy like Phil Mafa and say, he can slide in and make this roster and be a contributor. Now, look, they obviously drafted Jadon Blue. He's going to have a big impact. They brought in Williams, of course. I think he's going to be RB1, at least when we go into training camp. But one of the things that jumps out to me about this Cowboys team right now is they're taking a whole new cultural approach. Everyone has to earn their place on their roster. Everyone has to earn their place in the lineup, starter, backup, third string, whatever it may be. And it looks like based on how Mafa is set up physically, his style of play, that's exactly what Clayton Adams worked with James Conner with the Arizona Cardinals. And I think that's what he's going to be looking to see out of Mafa through training camp in the preseason. I think there's a really strong chance here that Mafa not only makes the Dallas Cowboys, but becomes a significant contributor in this new power offense, gets a lot of carries. At the very least, I think before the 2025 season ends, Mafa becomes the short yardage goal line back for the Dallas Cowboys. And there's a very good chance we're going to get a thunder and lightning combination with Blue and Mafa, two young studs at the running back position, as the future for the Dallas Cowboys. All right, Miles, I'm curious what your thoughts are on all of this, but Cowboys fans, you first in the comment section below. Now I've got a very, very interesting question for you guys. Who is your opinion the most powerful running back in Cowboys history? Right, there's a couple guys in recent memory that may come to the top of mind, but you can go back a long ways here. There's a lot of guys that could be on this list. I'll let you even throw in some fullbacks too. That'll make it really spicy. Who is the most powerful, physically powerful back in Cowboys history? Put them in the comment section below. But Miles, over to you now. What are your thoughts on this latest news out of Dallas?
Yeah, I think Mafa sounds like a great runner to fit this gap scheme. Just a guy, like you said, that's powerful. And I think the comp to James Conner is very fit. Like you said, we're talking about eighths of an inch here in differential. I don't think to the naked eye, people would even really be able to tell the difference as far as that goes. But I think when you look at their games and when they came out of college and things they did, like the last year in college, they were there as well. There's some really great similarities as well. James Conner, big, powerful runner. This is a guy that was running 2.95 yards after contact on average. You look at Phil Mafa, a guy who's a little bit better than that. He was running 3.24 yards after contact on average. So this guy, he could bowl through people, really keep running, get that extra yardage, be a powerful guy, like you said. Gap schemes tough, hats on hats, best on best. Everyone, you got to get the holes open and get the runners downfield. This is guy Phil Mafa. If he runs up against a little bit of resistance, this is a guy get those yards after contact, doing great things in that aspect as well. Then we talked about elusiveness. Was this guy able to do? Can he get guys to miss? Can he, if that gap scheme breaks down and he has to go up against someone, how does that go? This guy's just as good at James Conner as that as well. James Conner coming out of college, 39 missed tackles forced in that last 2016 season when he was coming out of Pitt. You look at Phil Mafa here. This guy, 35 missed tackles forced. So again, nearly identical. Very, very similar players. A lot of good statistics, a lot of good stats backing up that Mafa seems like a guy that really could fit exactly what Dallas's run scheme wants to be. This is a guy who sets up for that gap run very, very well. And this is a guy in college, when you look at how he ran as much gap as he did absolutely anything. It's almost even split down the middle. 105 zone running snaps to 101 gap running snaps, excuse me. This guy, exactly what you want. A guy very familiar. You said, what was Cowboys last year? Zone. If they keep any of that, this guy's got experience in the zone, but a lot of gap as well. Really can fit into that niche. I think this is a really big pickup for the Cowboys, and I think this is going to fit well. I think people are wondering, why didn't the Cowboys draft some running backs earlier? We talked about it all offseason. This was a deep draft when it came to skilled players. They got Blue. They have Mafa. I think they're really good at the running back position, especially because they went after guys in the later rounds who fit what they wanted to do.